sort of the question that people are asking each other when they meet each other. I went to ITSMF this week, and that was the question on everyone's mind. Are you going to Knowledge?
Who isn't going to Knowledge is my question.
I'm not. Are you going, Farah?
I am going to Knowledge. Yes, I am.
Is KPMG still like platinum sponsor?
They are. We are still the premier sponsor for the conference. So it's been an insane month. Lots of stuff going on, but yeah.
I suppose that you've got a lot to do with that since you're in the consulting side of things.
Yeah. Still in the consulting space, but what I'm most excited about our kind of, I think, point of view this year is we're making the entire presence all about our clients. So I'm really, really excited because our practice leader for service management and our new franchise within the firm is really all about the outside-in perspective. So I think I'm really excited. Like the entire booth, all you're going to see is client stories and what clients have said and what clients have experienced, and we're not even, I think we're just, I'm really, really excited.
That's pretty that's pretty futuristic. It's not very many orgs that can do that sort of thing. Hey, you should mute your bell.
I know. I don't know why it's not muted, actually, and my phone is on silent.
Is it your computer instead? Do you have messages running?
Yes, that's exactly
Which
right.
I finally got working again, and now I realize why it breaks all the time, and it's because my Apple password is like 70 characters, and it has 30 special symbols and 4 numbers. It's incredible.
Oh
you can't. Well, it's harder to make a password for Apple than ever before.
It truly is. But then again, is it now that much different than all the other password policies everywhere else?
That's true. 1Password has been saving my life. If you don't use 1Password,
oh my God, I agree. Holy Hannah.
I think it's like $40, but it literally will save your life. Like once you die, that's where they will get everything.
And then they can update your Facebook profile to tell everyone you're dead.
Yeah, or just close it. That would just be better.
Well, they now launched
that seems appropriate, right?
Yourself. You can memorialize your Facebook page once you're 6 feet under. It's interesting.
Do you want that, or do you want to just have the impact on everyone's life so they've got you memorialized, like in their lives?
I think that's better. I think it's much more vain to have a memorial page of my own. I would rather have people just revel in memories, pictures and things that they've shared on their own profiles.
Speaking of reveling in memories, I remember when Knowledge was like 100 people.
I know. Do you remember? I can't even remember what year it was when it got rained out and there was like 500 people in this tent in the middle of San Diego.
Yes, there was flooding.
12,000 people. I'm like, wow, it's pretty awesome to see their growth and how far they've come along. It'll be interesting to see what they have to say, where their direction is going, if things like mobile is still finally something they'll embrace and build a strategy around, or if not. It'll be interesting to see what comes up, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I'm not going to Knowledge, and it's not because I don't want to, because I would definitely go. Several people have actually offered to share rooms with me, and I probably will go next year. We just happen to have our annual user conference the exact same week.
Bummer.
And so our attendance numbers are terrible because a lot of people use ServiceNow and our products.
Right.
So that was sort of a mind game, and so we're rescheduling it for next year to try to get around that sort of obstacle.
Yeah, but ServiceNow, even like they used to have the May slot. Then I think it was last year they moved to April, so they had a.
They moved. They were on Mother's Day. They got in trouble for being on Mother's Day.
Oh, there you go.
That's tough. That's a tough one for people to be out of town, especially as we know, since like 80% of the attendees are male. I don't know actually anymore because I haven't been to Knowledge, and this will be the second one I've missed.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I missed last year because I was on mat leave with Zoya. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I want to see how many women presenters there are, who's exhibiting at the booth. and the vendor side of it. It's going to be interesting. It's still, it's still really tough. There's not a lot of women in tech, and those who are, it's amazing to see how many people, start off, have a great career, and then they start their families or what have you, and then they feel not empowered enough to stay on, so they just quit. So still very much challenge in the industry.
Yeah, firsthand.
Firsthand. I'm gonna be away from my daughter for 6 days. I'm like seriously having, I'm not doing so well.
Is it the first time you've been away that long?
Yeah, first time I've been away that long since she's been born. So the longest I've been away is 24 hours. And I had a 1-day trip, I think, over to Denver. But she was only like 3 months. So it's weird because, she just slept all day, right? And drank milk and you change diapers. But now it's like she recognizes me. She says my name, So it's, I don't know who's going to have a tougher time. I'm pretty sure it's going to be me.
Definitely. It didn't take me very long to realize that bringing everyone with me was the best thing I could do. It all comes down to timing and whether you're able to do it, and having someone come along to essentially be a nanny while you're at a conference is
right.
Tough.
Yeah, no, definitely. So.
Finding people you can trust to watch your kids is impossible too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what I'm really curious about is whether ServiceNow sort of takes the same, what I'm now going to label the KPMG approach. And I'm always looking for authentic content out of a conference, something like this on Twitter. I want to see users and admins and what they're posting because, I just don't need any more ServiceNow employees in my stream.
Yeah, so yes, so true. So it is interesting, I think, and we've noted this in our podcasts that through even ITSMF conferences, it's always the consultants or the vendors doing all the social engagement and the tweeting content, and it's interesting, that still we don't see that much coming from the actual people who are either building or coding or configuring or implementing or. When's the last time you saw a change process owner, talk about the struggles with change management? And all those people who watch, I just did say process over process, so you should be proud of me. But when's the last time you saw them tweeting about the struggles of change management instead of us talking about the complexities of the process and why people feel like they need 500 approvals before they press go, right?
Or even just pushing the boundaries of like what the platform can do, or pushing the boundaries of the company itself. How do we get ServiceNow to think more disruptively in this marketplace? For example, I was actually at ITSMF this week, the Minnesota chapter meeting. It was fantastic.
Very cool.
Really high attendance, lots of great content actually, and ServiceNow presented. And what I'm looking for is for them to what I want them to do is challenge companies to innovate faster, especially the big ones. I think that ServiceNow is specifically poised to push the market further than a lot of the other ones have come. And if I were going to give more advice, because apparently I'm full of it today, it would be that they need to think about. How do I want to say this? They're
influencers in the space, right? So I think if I could get at what you're trying to say, I feel personally that there's certain aspects of the platform where ServiceNow has out-innovated the demand of their customers, right?
Yes.
So you're in a great position. Now, how do you take your influence and get your customers to start wanting to innovate at that space? And what are those barriers preventing them from moving faster, right?
Yeah.
Realizing that and getting them to move forward.
Yeah, and so like there's small, and this is tough. I'm not saying that this is easy. I'm just saying that they're making a lot of money and they have a lot of resources, and with great power comes great responsibility. I think like specifically in like the application development space, or what we'll call the infrastructure automation space, DevOps. Or what a lot of people are calling DevOps, release management, and everything involved in that. I saw a presentation and they kept on separating build and test, and they kept separating out design and governance. And I think something that that we could all do is to stop segregating those things. Think about how all of those things are an aspect of what everyone does. The testers help design. The testers help develop. The testers help make sure it's governed. Boom!
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of integrated cycle, right? And I think one thing I'm excited about, and it's a little mini shameless plug, but one of the big things I'm really excited about is one of the things that we're featuring with ServiceNow is one of their new applications, customer service management. And one of my clients is going to be the one that's featured with Frank on stage. And so I think it's an exciting space even for me personally, because I think I'm a big fan of where this is going and I'm excited about it. But the concept there is tying together sales and support views into transforming the customer, from customer relationship to customer experience, right? And the customer service application. And I feel like those aspects of, hey, can an account manager be more proactive using the service management data to do root cause analysis against issues that are coming, and provide their clients, hey, this is based on your issues you're reporting, here's some training you should be deploying to your organization, or here's some opportunities for improvement or sales material that can help, enhance what you guys do with our service. I think that type of insight, again, is an example of, now what typically would be sales and very much in their own world, now working actively with the engine that runs the business, if you will, right? But similarly, to your point, I think there's a lot of opportunity for that within IT itself to do that with each other. In the concept of the build versus the test folks versus the architect versus the people who support the system.
Can I get an amen? Right? The other thought that I was having that I couldn't actually get to, and I ummed and ahed through it, thank you for covering, that was fantastic, is not repeating the mistakes of vendors of the past. And I think I've said it hundreds of times, but really, there's a reason that the companies are where they are. The decisions that they made about it's really around values. Like, what are you valuing? Is it shareholder value that you're really going for? How do your customers feel about that? How do you balance that? And I think being transparent about that is something that the ecosystem needs. So take it or leave it.
No, I completely agree with you, and it's a challenge, right? Who do I service? And when you're that big and you have all that going for you, and now you're also got shareholders in the mix, it's like my customers, my employees, my shareholders. I have a third element in the mix, right? Yeah. And again, it's no easy task to figure out how you balance the best of all of those three, for sure.
But there is some interesting stuff coming out. If you don't follow John Roberts on Kavu Code, definitely check it out. He's got some really interesting tidbits about where business rules are going and how that's going to change, because that's fundamental to the platform. And I think like GitHub and a lot of the more modern technologies that they're slowly adopting, I think that'll change the platform for the better too. If you are in Minneapolis next week, reach out to me. I'll be speaking actually at our event. I'm giving a lightning talk on analytics. It'll be real fast. I haven't done a 15-minute presentation with a lot of content.
Yeah, that's like a stand-up. That's awesome. I like it. A lightning talk.
What I'm finding already is I have to practice it like 6 or 7 more times than what I usually practice to hit like 15 minutes every time.
And to make sure you hit your key points.
Exactly, yeah, because it's so easy. Well, I don't know, etc. etc. But it is an interesting event. I love actually having our customers out, and we do what I'm calling the KPMG approach, where we actually have customers. They'll present their use cases, and we build basically a display for them to show off what they've done. And of course, there are partners that love to share that stuff, just like KPMG and ServiceNow. We have got a couple partners. CareTech's a huge partner of ours, and they love showing off stuff because then, all the health systems, they're like, oh yeah, well, we just buy it from you.
Yeah, right. No, totally. It's interesting, but I feel like that just the value in hearing when an audience member can relate to the person who's presenting because they're going through the same thing. That is so powerful. And I feel like whether it's conferences such as your user conference or even Knowledge, I feel like that's why it attracts me. It's so content rich to go there and know that while yes, you have this subliminal vendor messaging, at the same time you're hearing real stories. Now, I guess my beef with it, which is really why I don't understand why this thing, I quit messages. I really don't know why it's still dinging. It's driving me crazy. Anyways, but what is so fascinating to me is we all wait for user conferences to share those stories, right? Why aren't we saying, let's do a mini conference internally? I mean, imagine if people had that lightning round where they're talking to their own other business units or their departments to talk about what's the latest and greatest in what they're doing or what they've accomplished as practitioners for their own organization. But I feel like we wait for these big user groups or ITSMF and things like that before we really come out and purposefully craft a message that markets that.
Yeah, that, and then there's no standard way of like reporting use cases or case studies or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's kind of where my head was going is I think like IRC or some sort of online forum where people always, because what the value that you're describing is really just connections of people to people. In a conference, it works well because you've got a one-to-many connection. Who's got the most valuable experience and story to tell? Put him in front of him or her in front of everyone, and put them in front of everyone, and then the connection is one to many, whereas online could be many to many. Or the problem is that you've seen the LinkedIn groups, man.
I know, but
there are dark pits of despair and agony,
and apparently just a little bit of this and that. They are, but maybe it's the platform and the medium, right? I don't know. And I feel like there's still an element of I feel like people fear. Is it a fear of I'm making myself vulnerable by sharing my story? Is it that we don't truly have safe spaces? Is it that employers don't embrace that kind of a culture or that kind of sharing? I mean, it's so what? Like, how cool would it be? We're like, hey man, we're just jumping on a hangout and 7 random people come together and just talk about their week. I mean, it's fascinating to me that there's still so much resistance.
I think you hit it on the head. It also has to do with the fact that people in our line of work don't necessarily like to present all the time, which was news to me. Working at a software company, man, I learned who likes to present and who doesn't really quickly. And then there's a ton of work that goes into the event. So of course that's if you're gonna hold something that's mind-blowing, it's hard to find that much content.
Maybe that's the wrong focus. Why should we have to focus on holding an event that is mind-blowing? Maybe that mindset is what disallows people from just organically coming together, right? Are we our own worst enemies?
Yes, it's cultural, and then also people value ideas, but they feel vulnerable putting their name to them all the time. What we need is Secret. Do you remember Secret?
No.
Okay, it's an app where you can share secrets and it's completely anonymous. So you just post something. Cool. And what it does is it searches through your address book on your phone and you connect to people, but it doesn't tell you who they are or whether they accept it or not. So you know that everyone you're following, and then there's all these secrets on there. Very interesting. It's the same thing in ITSM, right? Like, hey, I got a change through today and it didn't get signed off. I spit in this guy's computer before I delivered it.
That would be the most entertaining app next to Fishbowl. Have you?
I
Have you downloaded
prioritized
Fishbowl?
Alice's batch job on the iSeries.
Oh my gosh, Fishbowl. That is exactly what we need. We need more Fishbowl. Have you downloaded that app?
No.
Oh my God, it is the biggest pick me up ever. All right, so Fishbowl, it uses your LinkedIn job title and nothing else. And you get joined into a room, a community room based on your LinkedIn job title, and you don't know who anybody is, but people post the most entertaining stuff. Like I'm in this Big Four thread, so all the Big Fours, you know, in CIO advisory come together, and there's everything from like when the lady next to you picks up her, you know, on the plane, like struggles of like travel, right? When the lady next to you tries to stuff her oversized suitcase underneath the seat and takes up all your room. So you get like, you know, funny anecdotes like that, all the way to people legitimately being like, I just submitted a PowerPoint without running spell check, you know, type of things. But it's hilarious. And people have been connecting. They're asking questions about what it's like to work in certain situations or what they would do, but nobody knows who anybody is. It's fabulous. So I can tell you, I've definitely, it's been entertaining. And it's actually
a service tied to LinkedIn, or is it run by LinkedIn?
It's not run, it's tied. So I don't even know who started it, but it's genius. So
that is genius.
You don't have to submit your real name, nothing. You just put in your LinkedIn credentials, it reads your job title, and based on your job title and company, puts you in a community that you subscribe to. So everybody is talking to each other without knowing who anybody is. And there's no way for you to even ever connect to who they are. It's pretty awesome.
Man, someone's going to get fired over that. It's unfortunate, but true.
Yeah, but it's pretty sweet. So, yeah.
That is very sweet. That is very cool. I'm going to do it immediately after this. So what I want to do, though, is I want to change my job title and then do it and then change it again and see what the experience is like.
Yeah, you know, if you could, I haven't actually, it's a good thing. I haven't experimented through Fishbowl if I can just swap into a different community or not. Now that I'm
it's such a closed platform, man. Integrating to it is terrible.
Yeah. Chit chat for professionals. Yeah, oh look. I can invite people to Fishbowl.
Oh, interesting.
How did it know that I was talking about Fishbowl? Anyways.
Yeah, that's creepy. Speaking of creepy things that companies are doing, Amazon has been really, man, people are really talking about, someone mentioned antitrust today, actually, in the news with Amazon. They came out with a new service today that they're not advertising. You have to find it by word of mouth or a push notification, I guess, from Amazon. It's called Smile.
Uh-huh. Yes, and you can donate to a charity.
See my face?
Yes. Smile.amazon.com.
Such a happy consumer.
Yes. Actually, I've been using Smile for quite some time.
And then another thing that they have is, you know, the button that they have?
Yeah, the little
push to like reorder Tide or whatever.
Yeah.
They now have a generic one that's just IoT push button.
Yeah.
So it's $20 and you can do things like spin up a Windows server.
Huh. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I ordered it immediately.
I'm like, I think I gotta go order that right about now.
I don't care what it is. I'm gonna do something with it.
Imagine that. Imagine if people were sitting in their organizations and could just click a button and they just came and gave them what they wanted.
It exists.
There you go.
Unfortunately, it's difficult to get there, but once you're there, it is a beautiful place. The problem then quickly becomes, well, what if I don't fit into the standard? And then you're like,
And then they build these process maps that have these workflows that go from one side of the wall to the other, and then
Costco, out into the sunset. But yeah, I really like that. I love end-to-end automation. I think that's why I got into this industry. I'm glad that we're at this point. I want more companies to reach it. I expect you and you and you and everyone who's watching this video to work towards that, because that is how you hack business technology. We'll see you next time.
Smile.